Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about the month of June and what is going to be coming down for us this whole summer, because there are so many planetary configurations that are intense during this month. And I'm going to inform you as to what is going to be happening, and most of all, what we can be doing personally, because this is a critical time in humanity. And never have things been overflowing and this intense and building to a big crisis. So this month we have Mars transiting in Gemini. It's been there since May, so everything is in a continuation from the month of May. But now things are going to get a little bit more intense because we're going to have Mars opposing Saturn, conjunct Rahu, which is the north node of the moon. And on top of that, the lunations, such as the new moon and full moon, will exacerbate this even all the more. But watch how all the things that we've been talking about throughout these years are all coming to a culmination point, because there's a solar eclipse on July 2nd that's going to have a major effect. That degree point of the eclipse will be triggered by Mars in June. Let me fill you in with all the details that will be occurring this month. Now remember, I'm doing Sidereal Vedic Astrology, which throws the planets back a sign from what most people are familiar with in Western astrology. So I'm going to be talking about the sidereal placements and looking at this. Well, first of all, as I said, Mars is the trigger point this month. And Mars will be with Mercury, conjoining Mercury, and it's going to be opposing Saturn. Now, Mars-Saturn oppositions are always about setbacks, delays, things that don't come through. So you're going to be feeling frustrated. Why is it I can't get these deals to go forward? Well, this is why, the Saturn-Mars opposition. But with Mars being with Rahu, Rahu magnifies things all the more, makes things bigger, more intense. And with Mercury, Mercury's all about communications. Remember, this is all occurring in Gemini. So Gemini is all about communications, travel, trade, anything to do with how we connect to each other. And so everything in the area of communications is going to be messed up. And that involves the internet. It involves all transportation, such as air travel, buses, trains, you name it. People are going to be angry because Mars is anger. So guess what? We're going to have a lot of strikes. There's going to be people on strike that prevent people from traveling, whether it be, airline strikes, whether it be train strikes, buses, taxis, all over. The ways that we connect to each other through travel will be in a dilemma. Now, the other aspect of Mercury and Gemini is what? Computers. There's going to be hackings. There's going to be probably where there could be a point in time when all the airplanes are in the air and all of a sudden the computers go down. Mass chaos in transportation, in the air. So computers, travel, and don't forget your personal communications with other people. This is not the time to draw up and complete any contracts because they just won't go through probably. There'll be many setbacks and problems. So this involves transportation, communications, but the fact that Saturn K2 are conjoined in the sign of Sagittarius, it's all about people's belief systems, which are blowing up. People are in such discord, anger, and Sagittarius being the sign that deals with religion. these are extremes. So we're going to have more terrorist activity, a lot more, because of the religious fanaticism, and that's what this is all about. So people are at odds by what they believe. This is all about beliefs. People become so righteous, opinionated. They become so much into their justices and morality. And it doesn't help that political leaders around the world create this polarization. But what is this polarization actually all about? It's the masses. It's the people. People are all polarized because everyone thinks they're right now, and everyone's got an opinion. And so therefore, our political leaders are the reflection of the mass anger, righteousness, rebelliousness, and the fanaticism in the people. But there is a huge lesson that will come out of this. And everything that you see transpiring right now, the breakdown of the old, the outworn, outdated government ways and politics are going to dissolve. Why? Well, because Saturn K2 are in the sign of Sagittarius. That's dissolving, breakdown. But Pluto, don't forget, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, which is coming together all of this year, is breaking down the old ways of government, dictatorships. Everything is coming to an end. But these polarities of extremes of the right and the left are destroying each other. There's going to be something new reborn out of all of this because people are at odds with each other. But remember this, truly, everyone wants the same thing. They just feel like their way is the only way to get that same thing, which is happiness, peace, contentment, bringing the world together. Really, there may be some people that enjoy the chaos and the anger, but the general public really wants the same thing. All of us want to come together. And what is the greatest lesson that is going to be obtained from all of this chaos and this crisis? It's a sense of unity. Because right now, the world is at odds. It is so separate. It is so extreme. It's never been this extreme. But what's going to happen through the crescendo of all these events that are boiling over is people feel so separate right now. They don't feel a sense of unity. They don't feel a connection. But what's going to happen is an event that will teach us to be more connected. And that's the whole purpose of this period that is so polarizing and so intense. Now, I'm going to give you some dates of specific things that I know are coming together. And really, Saturn-Pluto are coming together between now and next January. So this year is the most dramatic. Well, maybe not. 2020 is probably going to be a little bit more spicy and dramatic, but we have a transformational change coming on this planet now. And May, June are imperative because events that are happening May, June, and July, because this solar eclipse is a doozy, is very significant as to the results of what will be happening in 2020 and even affecting the 2020 elections in the United States of America. Things that are happening for the next 3 months are huge. You'll see they're creating the changes that are going to be significantly altered in 2020. And I'm going to say this now because there are some dates in 2020 that I'm going to inform you of. But yes, there is going to be something huge that will happen in 2020. And my prediction is it will be after the next solar eclipse, which is December 26, 2019. And that will preclude events that will happen in February. Around February 18th through the 21st of 2020, major events will happen. But what's happening now in June and July are a part of this. Things are brewing right now that are visible if you pay attention, that are relative to what is going to be happening at those points in time, which will be January, but specifically watch February 2020. What's brewing now will result then. So pay attention. So I want to be talking about some very important things. The fear is building. What happens when fear builds? It affects the stock market. It affects the economy. And as you can see, the economy is going through a transformation. Now I say it's not going to crash, but it is going to be so incredibly volatile that you'll think it's like a crash. But pay attention, because some stocks, some business, some parts of the economy are booming. And what have I always said? When the stock market starts to fall because of the mass fear, oil prices will go up. That's an area that will be on the up level, oil and gas, okay? Then I get cryptocurrency. I know I've been predicting this for a very, very long time, but in 2020, it's going to be doing very well. 2020, 2021, mark my words, that will be taking over, because people, the more consumed they become with fear, the more the stock market and the economy changes, not fails, has to change, because there is so much money out there, so many billionaires, they have to have a place to put their money that's safe. And cryptocurrency is the wave of the future. So watch that down the road, and watch how the economy is shifting this summer. But the price of oil and gas will come forward, will rise. So all of these problems with trade is an important variable that's going to be under scrutiny, and will have some problems. Why? Because trade is all about Mercury. Mercury is with Mars, Rahu, opposed Saturn, Ketu. This is so intense. The dilemma that we're dealing with is phenomenal, and what is going to be happening. So let me give you some exact dates, because this is like the most eventful time period, I think, of the year. Around June 1st to the 2nd, Mars will be around 16 degrees of Gemini, which will be right there on the solar eclipse degree, 16 degrees of Gemini. That will occur, the solar eclipse degree, July 2nd, will happen at 16 degrees of Gemini. Now let me explain something. Anytime Mars crosses that hot point before or after an eclipse, something's triggered, and that will be around June 1st and June 2nd. Now, another thing that's imperative to know is during this time of June, Mars is actually what we call out of bounds. An out of bounds planet is when it is above or below the limits of declination that we provide in astrology. I'm not going to go into an astronomy class, but let me just say, when a planet rises above 23 degrees above or below the celestial equator, this is called declination. So this is that it is going to be out of bounds, those limits, and that it means that the planet of Mars, which is anger and blow-ups, will be at a peak, at a high point. Let me just tell you, September 11, 2001, Mars was way out of bounds, almost 27 degrees in declination. I'm not talking about degrees and When we talk about conjunctions, I'm talking about declination, but that is important. Another variable that's going on, Mars is in the nakshatra of Ardra. Ardra is the nakshatra of tragic events. Symbol is a teardrop. And that was a nakshatra that was activated again in September of 2001. So June 12th through the 14th, be aware, because June 12th, Mars will conjunct Rahu. That's explosive. And by the 14th, it will be opposed Saturn. That's explosive events that prevent and cause limitations, setbacks, delays, major problems. Next, June 15th through the 18th, Mars, Mercury, and Rahu are in conjunction. Remember, Mercury deals with travel, communications, trade, a breakdown of all of these variables, plus computers. Okay, June 17th, the moon is a great trigger of events, and the moon will be full at this time, and it will be with Saturn Ketu opposing the Mars, Rahu, Mercury. And at this point in time, now the sun comes into Gemini. So we've got all of these planets being heated up in Gemini. Now let me explain one other thing. Because we're coming into the phase of eclipses, which is 6 weeks before or after a solar eclipse, this represents natural disasters around the world. We're going to have earthquakes, eruptions, and all sorts of weather, storms, crazy things are going to be going on this planet. And furthermore, I find that whenever the sun and Mars are in the same sign, things are hot. And this whole summer, for the next 4 months, starting on and off from June, July, August, September, Mars and the sun will be in the same sign. This heats things up. It's going to be a hot summer, but full of anger, violence, terrorism. Trust me, this is what this is all building to. So one more thing I wanted to talk about is that June 5th, that's going to be when the moon is in Gemini. So I've always talked about the moon being a trigger. So around June 5th, we're going to have the moon in Gemini, and then the opposite time when the moon will be in Sagittarius is around June 17th through the 20th. So those are critical dates. I really can't even imagine that there's not one thing after another creating issues, problems, and fear that causes everything to change this month. So it's all brewing, it's all coming together, but what is this really about? It's about the anger, about righteousness, about justice. People want their way. And this goes for everyone, including world leaders, including everyone out there. What's going to happen is an event that forces us to all come together and come to a place of unity, because we have been so separate and torn apart for so long. And it's time we came here on this planet to heal relationships with one another. And now is the most opportune time ever, because every time someone triggers your anger, your emotions, your feelings of being hurt, that is exactly an opportunity for you to see and take back, what is it within me that caused this feeling? What is the triggers? Because it's always something out there that's reflecting something in here. And this is a powerful time for transformation and change on the planet. And I think it's going to create a whole sense of spirituality and a spiritualist movement all about coming together and finding likenesses instead of differences. It is the most transformational spiritual time on the planet, and it's going to get more and more intense. So with that, I'd like to close, but use this time wisely. Be careful what you say, pull back, and try to find your connection with humanity and your friends instead of disconnection, because that's what we're learning, to not be separate anymore, to find unity. So with that, I'll close. If you would like more information concerning my work or a reading, you can always go to my website, which is galacticcenter.org. And remember, you can get written transcripts of this. This is all put in my predictions on my website. And sign up for my newsletter, because it will be sent to your email address free. All of my predictions, dates and times, everything that I just said right now, you will have sent to your email address if you'll sign up for my free newsletter on galacticcenter.org. And if you would like to learn Vedic astrology, don't forget I have a university, which is University of Vedic Astrology.com. Thank you.